Hello and welcome to this Broadcom course on advanced scheduling and orchestration in Automic Automation. IT ops specialists are keenly aware that automating operations involves a mixture of sequencing work, having processes execute in a certain order, and scheduling, executing on the right dates at the right times. This course is the opportunity to showcase Automic's sequencing and scheduling capabilities. We're showing a limited subset of what Automic can do. Obviously, the platform extends well beyond these basic features, but our objective is to demonstrate how challenging requirements can be tackled with simple steps that don't require a ton of expertise, as long as you see the clear line of demarcation between sequencing and scheduling. We're going to build a workflow inspired by one of the main 2024 use case presentations called Multi-Cloud Orchestration Advanced Workload Scheduling. This use case is interesting in that it takes a horizontal cross-functional approach to show that even entry-level features can deliver significant results. We'll look at the many supported integrations in agent types, task properties, conditions, calendars, reporting, and a few more things. This course sits in the gray learning area between introductory and intermediates. It requires basic knowledge of Automic objects. This is the use case workflow. It combines several integrations: Airflow, SAP, SQL Server, systems, and Kubernetes. We're synchronizing operations across a multitude of environments orchestrated by a single workflow, which is consistent with one of Automic's main mission statements of maximum efficiency in design and development. Some of these tasks have to comply with certain requirements, which we describe in the course. To this day, advanced workflow configuration remains an inexhaustible Automic topic. There are simply too many functions available to designers to be covered in a single course. Instead, we explore the handful of items raised by the use case. First, in and of itself, there isn't anything particularly groundbreaking about IT automation tech. These products have been around for decades, and most organizations have something to support the humble batch job. Where Automic Automation shines is in the range of environments it supports. Over the years, we've been able to expand coverage to the latest ecosystems like cloud and containerized providers. We've developed an extensive list of components like dedicated agents and connection objects to provide virtually universal support for the IT landscape as a whole. We'll focus on process orchestration. The bulk of these functions is provided by the workflow, which is the synchronization centerpiece, combining both sequencing and scheduling elements. Workflows are made up of tasks and their properties. Workflows can address some of the most exotic orchestration requirements. Tasks have properties. Among those, calendar conditions isolate individual tasks whose scheduling requirements diverge from the main workflow. This could apply to an individual task that needs to be inserted on the last day of the month in an otherwise regular daily workflow, say for specific period-end financial processing. The use case workflow executes several jobs for heterogeneous platforms. One of those tasks processes smart reader records. The task configuration parameters can be customized for each run, with a record type, either regular or special, date and type ranges, and a specific number of data records. These inputs are provided interactively by a user, which requires basic UI functions. For this, we have PromptSets. They're designed to capture one or more data point values and store them in variables, which can later condition the scheduling and processing of our data. We'll look at a handful of other functions like conditions, breakpoints, call objects, and reporting. Automic is a true cross-platform automation solution with extensive support for most ecosystems on the market. This ranges from batch to more recent developments like containerization. It covers both on-premises and cloud platforms, databases, ERPs, workflow managers, file managers, data transformation, and more. The Automic user interface is engineered around organizational roles. For process designers, the focus is on writing job definitions, assembling processes, and making subtle sequencing adjustments. Administration of things like physical infrastructure and security have been divorced from these duties. Likewise, operators should focus on supervision and alert management without concern for the nature of the services delivered by automation. For this reason, Automic configuration work is siloed so that each role does not overlap with another. Environmental specifics like endpoint URLs should not encroach on sequencing and scheduling configuration. Platforms are defined once in dedicated objects like cons and then applied to definitions. The core orchestration object in Automic is the workflow. To automate a process, we design the individual building blocks and then chain them sequentially to achieve the target results. Every object, like a job, file transfer, or embedded workflow, is added to the main workflow to assume one portion of the overall service delivered by IT Ops. Once added, these objects become tasks with properties. Some configuration aspects, like the scripts or the target agents, are constants, irrespective of the object's applications. For this reason, they're configured in the object itself. Others only pertain to the objects in the context of the execution by the workflow. For this reason, they're applied to the object within that workflow and configured using task properties. This includes various types of conditioning, runtime controls, interactive controls, and more. You may want to isolate certain tasks in a workflow with unique scheduling requirements, which don't match those of the overall workflow. Say you wanted to schedule the overall process every day, but one of the tasks cannot execute on days outside of the regular work week. For this, we use the Calendar tab in Task Properties. This is a multi-step procedure that first requires a calendar object, in which we designate certain days, say holidays specific to certain geographies, and weekends. Then we apply the calendar to the tasks and exclude the conditions from execution. When we forecast the workflow, we'll see its regular scheduling cycle, while the task will be excluded on designated days, identified as events in the calendar. Events were called keywords in older versions of Automic. Automic Automation includes features for the design of interactive UIs that can drive orchestration and automation, in other words, sequencing and scheduling. PromptSets allow interactive user inputs and store the recorded values in variables, which can be used elsewhere in your configuration work. The use case includes one prompt that captures several values with masks like yes, no, numbers, and date formats. The course includes several other features like call objects, simple notification-like messages, requests, and emails. These are issued in the web interface or sent over SMTP, can include text and variables, and prompt for confirmation. They can also be escalated. We'll briefly cover breakpoints to insert physical breaks that are resolved manually. Your workflow is suspended until a user response, delete the breakpoints, is provided. Finally, we'll look at comments as a way to document exchanges between users and IT operations.